Greetings, folks. This is Chris in central Pennsylvania. Horrific developments this morning in the Patapsco River at the port of Baltimore, where at 1:28 this morning, in about 44 seconds, a massive cargo ship reportedly lost power and drifted into one of the two main support pillars of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing its catastrophic total collapse into the river. The horrific crash dropped road crews, passenger cars, and semi-trucks into the frigid waters of the Patapsco River in the dark. Collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge has shut down the port of Baltimore, one of the nation's key shipping ports, as the structure now obstructs the entire 1.4-mile length of the river, bridge, and the shipping channel in the middle. At a press conference earlier this morning, Baltimore Fire Chief James Wallace said authorities are still very much in the active search and rescue posture, noting that they're searching for upwards of 7 individuals and that sonar has detected the presence of vehicles in the water. There's no indication that the event was intentional, according to the fire chief. This is a tragedy that you could never imagine. It looked like something out of an action movie, so said Mayor Brandon Scott. Video from the accident itself shows a container ship billowing smoke, colliding with a support beam and quickly causing much of the bridge to collapse. Just before the collision, the ship's lights appear to turn on and off multiple times as it drifted to the support pillar. Lanes in both directions to the Key Bridge were closed, and authorities were rerouting traffic after a 948-foot cargo ship struck the support column on that bridge. This morning, several hours after collapse, authorities were searching for those individuals. Now, the port of Baltimore is the closest East Coast port to the Midwest, and Baltimore ranks first in the United States for autos and light trucks, handling a record 850,000 vehicles last year alone. It's also a leading port for farming and construction machinery, as well as imported sugar and gypsum. And it's the nation's second largest port for exporting coal. Overall, the port ranks as the 9th biggest for international cargo, handling a record 52.3 million tons valued at $81 billion in 2023. The shutting down of the port of Baltimore will have a catastrophic impact for the economy of the state of Maryland and for the United States as well. More than 30 public transport routes have been affected by the collapse, according to the Maryland Department of Transportation Transit Administration. The Key Bridge, which I have traveled over dozens, if not hundreds of times, wherever I've shipped my vehicle to Europe, it was always out of Baltimore. You'd have to drive over, drop it off on the east side of Patapsco, and then drive back across. But the Key Bridge opened back in March of 1977, I recall it, and it connected the city of Baltimore and Anne Arundel County across the Patapsco River. Construction of the bridge took approximately 5 years and cost an estimated $110 million. Of course, the bridge is named in honor of the author who penned our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, and that, of course, is the attorney Francis Scott Key from Frederick. The bridge was one of Baltimore's 3 toll crossings. The 4-lane bridge was one of 3 ways across the harbor, including the Harbor Tunnel on I-895 and the Fort McHenry Tunnel on I-95. The collapse of the bridge, as I mentioned, is likely to have a ripple effect on traffic as well as shipping. The bridge carried more than 12.4 million commercial and passenger vehicles in 2023, with an average of 34,000 people per day using the bridge. Maryland officials said that rescue workers are searching for road repair crews who'd been working on the Key Bridge when it collapsed and were plunged into the bay's cold waters. Now, these rescue operations have been hampered by cold temperatures and bridge debris. At this hour, at least 2 people have been rescued. Divers battled against water temperature, the tide, and darkness earlier in their efforts. Coast Guard has deployed 4 response boats as well as a helicopter to aid in the search and rescue mission, and several police helicopters were seen circling the waters this morning. These authorities have used sonar and underwater drones to identify those motor vehicles, as I mentioned earlier. A short while ago, Mayor Brandon Scott spoke again. He said, "We remain on site managing the Key Bridge collapse incident, especially the ongoing search and rescue effort. This is a multi-jurisdiction, multi-agency effort with federal, state, and local resources mobilizing." He said, "We'll continue to make updates throughout the day." This is a shocking development in the port of Baltimore, folks, place of my birth, city of Baltimore, and it's tragic. Thoughts and prayers to the families of those construction workers, road workers who were on the bridge right in the center when this thing collapsed, as well as those who were in vehicles who were transiting across the bridge. If you watch the video, you see here that just moments before the actual collision between the ship, when it runs into the support pillar, cars just got off the bridge. Apparently, some did not make it And of course, the structure you see in the center is the span. However, there are elevated sections on each side that raise up to get to the bridge from the level ground on shore. Once again, folks, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, constructed in 1977 at a cost of $110 million, is no more. The Patapsco River is obstructed by the debris from the bridge as it was collapsed as a consequence of this massive cargo ship, the Dolly, which belongs to the Maersk Group from Denmark, the largest shipping company in the world. However, apparently they've leased the ship to someone else, and this thing has run into the Francis Scott Key Bridge pillar, causing its total catastrophic collapse. Again, thoughts and prayers to the families of those affected by this, and to the Port of Baltimore and Baltimoreans, the state of Maryland, and to our nation. This is going to have repercussions throughout the nation and reverberate through our economy. For those loved ones who've not been located yet, thoughts and prayers, folks. God bless. More updates as we get them.